So here we will have not just the solutions to the practice problem, but we'll work them out and talk them through. Let's give a look here at the odd numbered problems from the core practice sheet. So first off, for the beginning three problems, you are simply to write out what the sum is to show those additions happening. So I notice we've got k as the index, starting at 1 and going to 5. Now, you can do this with it here in its factored form. I think it's maybe going to be easier if we multiply this k through the parentheses. So k times k is k squared, k times 1 is k, and that's just the way I would prefer to set this all up. So here we go. Start with the 1 in there. So 1 squared minus 1. Well, that's 1 minus 1. That's 0. Not super exciting. Next to 2. 2 squared is 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. Next to 3. 3 squared is 9. 9 minus 3 is 6. Next to 4. 4 squared is 16. 16 minus 4 is 12. And then lastly, to 5, stopping at 5 up here. 5 squared is 25, minus 5 is 20. So you are on this one just to write out the sum. There it's written out. We're all good. Next up, here we go, 4n squared plus 1. N is the index from 1 to 6. So starting with 1. 4 times 1 squared is 4, plus 1 is 5. Now to 2. 2 squared, so your order of operations matters here. So 2 squared is 4. Times another 4 is 16, plus 1 is 17. So the squaring, then multiply by 4, then add 1. Next to 3, 3 squared is 9. 9 times 4 is 36. 36 plus 1 is 37. So there's 1, 2, 3. Next is 4. 4 squared is 16. 16 times 4 is 64, plus 1 is 65. 1, 2, 3. Next is 5. 5 squared is 25, times 4 is 100, plus 1 is 101. And then for 6, here's where I'm going to move over to my calculator. So 6 squared is 36. 36 times 4 is 144, plus 1 is 145. So here is what the series is adding up. This shows that you're able to turn that summation notation into the sum. Next up, k equals 1 to 4, so k is the index. Notice this is an exponent on the 2. So we're going to start with 1 over 2 to the first. And I do want you to simplify that. It's just 2 to the first is just 2. Next up, k equals 2. 1 over 2 to the second. 2 to the second is 4. Next up, 1 over 2 to the third. 2 times 2 times 2, that's going to be 8. And then stopping at 4, we've got 1 over 2 to the fourth, so times 2 again. Whoops, not an equals there, another plus sign. Would be a 16. And so there you go. That is the sum of this particular series. Now, for the next ones, you're essentially supposed to do the same thing, but then turn it into a single number at the end. So not just write out the additions, but actually give the result of those additions. So let's do this as 2 steps. First, do what we just did. So put the 1 in. So 1 to the first, that's 1. 10 minus 1 is 9. 2 squared is 4. 10 minus 4 is 6. So we did 1, 2, 3 squared is 9. 10 minus 9 is 1. Next, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 squared is 16. 10 minus 16 is negative 6. 5 squared is 25. 10 minus 25 is negative 15. And then for the 6, 36. 10 minus 36 is negative 26. Now it's just a matter of adding them all up. So 9 plus 6 plus 1 plus negative 6. Now notice, instead of writing plus negative 6, I wrote it as minus 6. That's the same thing. Minus 15 minus 26 ends up being negative 31. So write out your sum. Addition of a negative is just the same thing as minus. And then when you've written that out, go ahead and put it through. When you're doing your work, please do write them out. That way, if there is a problem, then you or your classmate or I can look at your steps and see what's going on. If all you write down is a final answer and it's not right, I don't know how to help you. There's a problem somewhere. If you show this middle step, we can figure out exactly where the problem is. Now, notice here, now these next two are actually more similar than I intended. You'll notice it's the same expression, and one goes from 3 to 9, the other goes 3 to 8. We'll still practice it, but it's going to save us a little trouble, I guess, on the next one. So here we go. Just like earlier, I personally find it easier if I don't have to do a set of parentheses in my calculation. So I'm going to start by rewriting this as the summation from a equals 3 to 9 of a squared minus 2a. And tell you what, just because there's a lot to keep track of here, I'm going to do a quick moment here where I just number my different terms. So 3, 4, 5, just doing my index values, 6, 7, 8, and 9, just to help keep track because there's kind of a lot going on. So let's start with 3. So 3 squared is 9, minus 2 times 3 is 6, 9 minus 6 is 3. Now for the 4, 4 squared is 16, 2 times 8, or 2 times 4 rather is 8, 16 minus 8 is 8. For 5, 5 squared is 25, 2 times 5 is 10, 25 minus 10 is 15, 36 minus 12 is 24, 49 minus 14, now I'm going to start double checking my mental calculations, is 35, 64 minus 16 is 48, and then 81 minus 18 is 63. This is a series, a summation, so these all get added together. And here we go. 3 plus 8 plus 15 plus 24 plus 35 plus 48 plus 63 is 196. And so there you go. That's the basic gist of things. Now, as you're going through, if you can find ways to save yourself some time, I'm not going to judge you. And here's what I mean. This series is the same as this one, except we just don't want the last term on it. So rather than reworking everything for number 11, if you've spotted, well, hey, it's the same thing, I just don't want the 63, then take your sum here, the 196, take off that last term that we didn't want. So 196 minus 63 is going to get me 233. Now, it's not a bad idea just for practice to actually go through, make sure you get these same numbers again, add them up. But however you get to this 133 is okay by me.